I did not plan what I was going to do. But
That's
hello,
right.
all you BC Wrestle Pod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Biconic Review of Honor, otherwise known as the BRO, your weekly Ring of Honor review team. Though things are looking quite different this week, but I am your mainstay host, Mikey, also known as El Jefe around the BC WrestlePod parts. I'm the man with half a plan and the face that kind of runs the place. And of course, I am joined by two very special guests this week. Our normal team is out doing a bunch of things, but thankfully, everybody that we got here tonight is doing me a solid because I didn't want to do this by myself. But first and foremost, you can find him normally on the AEW Rampage and AEW Collision, but you're going to be seeing him pretty much everywhere this week because
Maybe.
he's stepping in and being the substitute. But Buntador the second, thank you for tagging in for this week because I didn't want to do ROH by myself, like I said.
You're so welcome. Saludos todos. Happy to be here.
And then making her, BC WrestlePod debut, we have a special guest this week. We have Mama Laguillo in the house here to talk about her experience at her first ever ROH and AEW Collision taping. So I'm super happy to have you here, Mama Laguillo. The guys have been dying to meet you, and none of the regular guys could make it, so Adolfo gets this see you first. So outside of Evan, that is the only other person who got to see you. So welcome for being here, Mama Laguillo.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very, very, very excited to share my thoughts on my very first live performance. Well, not performance, but wrestling match.
Excellent. So before we get into our special little interview and then going into ROH, a little bit of housekeeping. If you enjoy what we have here, the camera decided to focus on Mama Laguillo. That is totally okay, and I am not going to argue with that.
Well, the camera knows where the talent's at there, Mikey.
I mean, let's be all the way 100 with that one. But if you enjoy what we do here at BC WrestlePod, make sure to hit that bell notification and hit the subscribe button. You can also follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. Pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We have collabed with the Next Level app with all those social medias. We have merch. We have a Patreon. We're pretty much anywhere and everywhere. So support us wherever you can. And yeah, so let's do this. So Mama Laguillo is joining us this week because this week's Ring of Honor episode is the Palm Springs taping. This was taped 2 weeks ago. So
right.
Now we're just seeing everything into its fruition. So first and foremost, Mama Laguillo, I got to give her props because not only did she sit through an AEW Collision taping, she sat through additional hours of wrestling with Ring of Honor. So first and foremost, Mama Laguillo, this was your very first wrestling show. Did you expect it to be as long as it was?
No, I was kind of going in blindsided. Well, blinded. I didn't really know what was going to happen. But once we got there and you gave me the information that was going to be long, and I was like, oh, okay. But, I sat there and it was just so interactive. It's so great to just be part of the crowd. I mean, one thing to watch it at home, but when you're there live with the crowd, they like pump you up. I like that was just, it was really awesome. And just the whole vibe, the crowd was so positive and just really into the matches.
Excellent. We love to hear that. So, Mama Laguillo, you had some interesting thoughts about certain parts of Ring of Honor. So, just as a refresher, we got a Ring of Honor match. We had the AEW Collision taping, and then everything else in the evening was ROH. And you had some thoughts about a couple of things in terms of presentation and the whatnot. So, in your opinion, what were some of the things that you liked, and what do you think some things that Ring of Honor can do, to improve the product?
Well, like I stated before, I just like the whole wrestling matches. They were very interactive. They were very great to watch. And, a lot of people, especially if you're not like an expert on wrestling, when you're watching it at home, you're kind of like, oh, that's fake. But when you're actually there, no, you hear those slaps. You hear those, when they take them to the mat and bang. And so it gave me a different perspective of how dare you people say that it's fake, because it's not. Like, I wouldn't want to be in there and get my back thrown out or, jumped on. So that was pretty fun, to witness. But my biggest thing is, of course, I liked my woman, like my gal, Thunder Rosa. So when she came out, I like the presentation, of course, of what she wears. However, it was so like little. I was like, man, that's all I get. Cause like with the guys, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, and everybody's like, woo, woo. And it seemed like with the guys, it was like maybe 20-minute presentation. And when she came out, it felt like maybe like 2 seconds. So that was kind of disappointing because what she brings and her whole attitude and her costume and everything is great. I really, really love it. And even the other wrestler women too. But I think they needed to do a better PR as far as introducing them to everybody, especially for a non wrestling expert, to get that knowledge because the women wrestlers, they're great. I'm not taking anything away from the men, but I just think they need to have more PR for the women.
And, not just an AEW collision too, but we kind of saw that during the Ring of Honor taping, especially when it came to the presentation of Trish Adora and Harley Cameron, just because of how quick the match was. And, giving a little bit of perspective, I loved filling in Mama Laguilla when it came to, the missing pieces. But she's kind of right when it came to the presentation with the women that we got for that evening. And I was kind of disappointed. And El Buntador, me and you will talk about it in more in depth. But the way that Trish and Harley's match was presented to the crowd was not fantastic for sure. And it was a bummer too, because, as I filled in the blanks, Trish Adora is a former, military person who is now wrestling. She's been doing this for 7 years. We love the gimmick. We love everything, but in a blink of an eye, it was over. So, El Buntador, I've kind of been doing a lot of the interviewing, but I want to give you a chance to have a conversation with Mama Laguillo. So, is there any particular questions, facets that you would love to hear from her?
I mean, not so much, but I will vibe off of what you were saying because last year Alice and I went to a taping of Collision. It was actually the second Collision that they had on at the time, and it was kind of the same situation where they did ROH, then Collision, then ROH again, and a lot of the things you said, ring true. There's so much more that goes on at the live shows, and it's definitely worth seeing and worth experiencing close up. Actually, I will ask a question. So what was your wow moment of the night?
Well, for me, to be honest, my wow moment, and I don't recall his name, but finding out that he was diabetic.
Oh, Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, and fighting in that ring because I'm diabetic as myself. So I was like, wow, that takes a lot because you got to check your sugar, you got to make sure this and that. You know what? And he had a really good match. So for me personally, because that's more of a personal note, I was like really like, wow, he could do this. And so I even researched him like on Google because I wanted to know like, does he wear what is it called? Like
The insulin pump?
the insulin pump or
The
the
insulin,
little
yep.
things that go on your arm. Because I was like, well, he couldn't wear that because then all the wrestling that he does. But that just was another thing. They could make more of a production over a PR piece to that, saying like, you know what? You're diabetic, but hey, that doesn't stop you. Like, they have all these other things like you have this or you have that. So that was probably one of my wow moments. But just being there live was the whole wow. Just seeing the crowd and the oohs and the ahs and just kind of like being a part of the family. I guess that was the best thing. I think that stood out for me.
Nice. And I know it's 2 weeks old, so if your memory doesn't, if you can't remember, I fully understand. Who had, for the men, we're gonna do this for both men's and women. For the men, who had the best ring gear that night?
The best what?
The best ring gear.
The best costume.
Yeah.
I don't know because there was a lot. Which one? Because maybe it'll bring like.
Remember how so My favorite, just because of how outrageous it is. Remember Dalton Castle coming out with the whole fan and everything?
Now, I mean, that was okay, but for me, that was more, I didn't really like it as much as I would have to say the women, because when she came out on like in the military and everything.
Trish's gear was really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and maybe that goes back to my own personal, because we're a military family. So, but I thought her presentation was great and everything. Actually, yeah, I think but I gotta go with my gal.
After Thunder for the
You
women. Yeah,
know,
I figured it was going to be Thunder for the women.
yeah, because it's just the whole, calaveras, everything is just, yeah, I just loved it.
I will
Nice.
say though, one piece of clothing that we both like too is when Will Ospreay came out in his coat as well, which was a lot of fun. The aerial assassin and everything.
Yeah, they got a lot of them got really great costumes. And like I keep saying, it's just, you need to present it more and like have a bigger production.
Oh my goodness. Well, El Buntador, unless there's anything else, Mama Laguillo, thank you for stopping by. Thank you so much. I love you. And you are now dismissed to go to your other love, which is professional hockey. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Mama Laguillo, as she exits stage right.
Exit stage right.
Alrighty. So now that she's gone, the camera now only has to deal with me. So, alrighty. So now that we've gotten the interview portion,
Yep.
I'm so happy, Adolfo, because you are the only other person that gets that
Who?
special privilege. And
Who?
hopefully this
Who?
is not the last we'll see of Mama Laguillo.
Yeah,
All right,
right.
let's get into the actual thing because I got lots of opinions about this week's Ring of Honor.
Yep, and we start out strong because we start out with Billy Starks versus Sandra Moon. Go ahead, Mikey. Start it up.
So, again, like I said at the top of this review, this whole entire episode was not in the same order that we saw, but that's okay. And as I stated last week with me and Andrew, my biggest complaint that I've had with Proving Ground matches is the fact that we know that the challenger is never going to be able to, reach the time limit draw or pin the champion. That's only happened once. That was the infantry being able to last the whole 10 minutes against the kingdom. I will say, however, because this is not the only Proving Ground match we got, this was actually a lot more back and forth than it was, and this was Billy Starks in a Proving Ground match against Sandra Moon. Sandra Moon, not the first time being in ROH. Glad to see her back for this. She was fantastic, and she kind of kept up with Billy a lot. Yeah. I love that Billy was intimidating and pulling more and more from Athena's playbook of intimidating her opponent. She even intimidated the referee, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. This, I think, was actually a more competitive Proving Ground match. I still wish that we used them properly, but I thought this was more back and forth than it was. But ultimately, Billy Starks walks out of this match the winner because she pins Sandra Moon.
Nope, she didn't pin.
That's right. No.
Submission, which is not, at least for me, I normally see Billy pinning opponents. So to see her win by submission was actually very, very interesting. And I felt that it kind of shows how many tools Billy has in her toolbox and how that toolbox is expanding. I mean, because she is still, young new talent. You know what I mean? And she's still under the wing, she's under the wing of Athena, so she's learning. But yeah, I thought that it was just really cool to see her in lieu of getting the stereotypical 1, 2, 3 of getting a submission. The other thing that I thought was really cool was how she seems to be embracing the heel, like that top ropes fake out spot. I mean, like the whole crowd was just like giving it to her, and she was loving it, so that was really cool. But as you said, I do want to give flowers to Sandra Moon. She, my first time seeing Sandra Moon, and I didn't notice any step missing, any ring rust, what have you. It looked like her and Billy had worked together previously. The flow of the match was really good. We had some really good solid wrestling in the match. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Again, I wish that proving ground matches were utilized the way that they're supposed to, but I wasn't upset about this week's proving ground matches because it was pretty decently back and forth, and we got closer and closer to the 10 minutes, which was great. Spoiler alert, I don't know if I should say this or not to break the illusion, but it was interesting hearing Ian and Caprice's commentary during this because we don't necessarily get that at the taping. So on top of that, too, there was no commentary team during the actual taping, which is bizarre to watch. I know I'm peeking behind the curtain. We're going to get canceled, but that's okay.
Right. So, but that brought us to our next match, which was Nick Comarado and Jacobe Watts versus Shane Taylor Productions, Shane Taylor, and Tiger Star, Lee Moriarty.
This
ahead,
was
Mikey.
the match that was not at the taping. So this is a leftover from
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Because,
the crowd
we
looked
got
different.
Nick and Jacobe cutting a promo where we were at during our taping, and no spoiler, but somebody came out to interrupt said promo, and then they promptly had a match afterwards. But this tag team match did not exist at the taping, so it was really interesting to watch this. I was like, "Yep, this was not what happened in Palm Springs." But look, I have been the biggest proponent of this whole team up of Jacobe Watts and Nick Comarado, and the potential is still there. I just don't know why we're heading in the direction that we are with these character choices and how we're booking them. Because, yes, Jacobe Watts is not going to be taking a pinfall. He's going to stay out of the ring as much as we can because that's his character. Cool. But how we are treating and giving advice to Nick Comarado and how he should play his character, I don't like this constant losing streak because you put them together. I feel like we did this in reverse. Nick Comarado should have been broken and reached his lowest point before Jacobe came in to take him under his wing. We took him under his wing, and this is kind of like an abusive relationship. It's very gaslighty and manipulative with the emotional stuff. And this is like very icky. And normally I can get behind it, but the series of events that led up to it does not warrant by how gaslighty and emotionally manipulative this has kind of been. And I'm kind of not digging the vibes about it. I still want them to be a team, but we got to figure out a different direction. Or, just put it out there. Let them win. Like, they've been on a constant streak since coming together.
Yeah, I jotted down on my notes that Jacobe Watts and Nick Comarado have a very $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil feel. Where Ted DiBiase, he would send Virgil to do the dirty work, and then would then swoop in to reap the rewards. Having said that, like I like the dynamic for as toxic presenting as it is. It's entertaining for me because it's this Nick Comarado is jacked, and he knows how to wrestle. It's not like he doesn't know how to wrestle. He knows how to wrestle. I mean, goodness, that pullover on the rope thing that he does where he hangs for a few moments and then he just fully pulls over. That's just fantastic. His power, he pressed Tiger Style Lee Moriarty like 3-4 times before dropping him. So I do find it entertaining that this big powerful individual is being manipulated by a snake, and there's no secret that Jacobe Watts is a snake. He does that whole thing where like he'll tag in, try to get the pin. If he doesn't get the pin, he tags himself back out. He leaves Jacobe Watts high and dry. I mean, Nick Comarado, I should say, high and dry. So yeah, it's for, like I said, for as toxic as it is, I still find it entertaining. For a little bit there, I will admit, I thought that Lee Moriarty was going to take the pin because on the flip side of this, Lee Moriarty was the one that just was getting pummeled, and Shane Taylor was just kind of like hanging back. I don't know if that was the intent but it does seem to be a recurring theme when STP comes out that Shane Taylor kind of hangs back until it's his time to shine, because yet again we got Shane Taylor getting the 1-2-3 pin, and and STP gets the win. Which what? Mikey, what do you think? What do you think they're doing with Shane Taylor Productions? Because they've kind of been everywhere, Like, are they getting a push? Are they going to get a shot at the ROH tag belts? Or are they going to make the jump from ROH to AEW? What are you thinking here?
Well, as much as I would love to have Shane Taylor Promotions be able to, do a thing when it comes to the tag teams, I don't think it's going to happen, though, because they've gotten wins in Ring of Honor, but every time they go to AEW television program, maybe like they get 1 or 2 wins, but most of the time they are on the losing end of a lot of stuff, and that is not just with Shane Taylor Promotions, it's with pretty much a bunch of the ROH talent that ends up having matches on AEW. They never win. The only real success story to come out of this is Willow has been doing pretty good for herself, but then again, she signed with AEW before doing the program with Athena last year for the women's championship, for the ROH women's championship. How do I put this without sounding like a jerk? But Tony Khan, I think, has his brilliance when it comes to certain things, but ROH booking is not where his strength lies, because over the last month or two, since post Supercard of Honor, we kind of just been meandering, trying to figure out what we want to do. And there's a lot of good talent there. We just got to utilize them. I would love to see Shane Taylor Promotions get a run with the tag titles. Are they going to? No, because you have the Kingdom and Roddy as the Undisputed Kingdom holding on to these things hostage. And I don't know if Tony's going to allow them to lose them anytime soon. In fact, I don't know. I don't know if Tony knows.
Roddy doesn't have a belt anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the Kingdom
it's
still
Bennett
do.
And Taven.
I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say this, even though he wasn't on the show. We talked about this during Dynamite last night. Just make Kyle Fletcher your poster boy for this version of ROH. The man's is there more than Mark Briscoe. Yeah, that's not to Mark Briscoe's detriment. It's not his fault. But literally put this title on Kyle Fletcher and let him be the face of ROH for the summer. Like, let's do this.
Right. So this swings us over to our first spot of the night, where we have Johnny TV and Taya TV ready, and Taya calling out Queen Aminata. But before we even talk about that, can we talk about those furs that they were wearing? They're fantastic.
Look, I am a man of fashion, and those coats, I'm just like, they must be hot, but I'm here for it.
Right. But yeah, Taya called out Queen Aminata, and I believe that we do have Taya versus Queen Aminata coming up in the books somewhere, Mikey. Did you see that?
I did. Here's the thing. I think Taya versus Aminata is going to be a fantastic match. And I love that we're getting these build-up and these call-outs, but I am still trying to figure out, are we taking a pit stop? Because we just had Queen and Red are still within this Athena Billy kind of vortex storyline. But, like, we'll do it for a week, and then, like, everyone forgets about it for a couple weeks after, and then we'll be reminded, as like, oh, yeah, I forgot. They're doing a storyline. Well, Taya's probably going to be on the losing end, which I'm okay with, but don't put these women in these storylines if you're not going to dedicate the time to completion. Like, I hate the start and stop that we've been doing.
Yeah, well, and it's funny that we mentioned Red Velvet, because Red Velvet is our next match, but it sounds, at least from the announcement table, it sounded like Red Velvet is gunning more towards Billy Starks and not Athena. So, I mean, I might be wrong in that. I'm wrong in a lot of stuff, but yeah. So we had Red Velvet versus Viva Van next, and I thought this was a great match. I thought this was a great back and forth. This is my third time seeing Viva Van wrestle, and every time I've seen her, she has just given it her all, and I'm so impressed with her. I'm at the point now that I want Viva Van to get a win. You know, kind of like when we were with Queen Aminata, where Queen Aminata, we kept seeing her and oh man, she's so good, but like she kept losing, and then she finally got that win. Let's give Viva Van that win. Having said that, her and Red Velvet worked really well together. You know, they had counter to counter. Like the one spot that I have written down is Red Velvet put Viva Van in an armbar, or no, I'm sorry, Viva Van put Red Velvet in the armbar, and then Red Velvet reversed it and did the same thing back to her. You know, it was really impressive. Viva Van coming off the ropes, super impressive as well. I thought this was a great match. Great match.
This was probably like one of my top 2 matches of this week's ROH, and that's combining what I saw on the Honor Club and my memory from 2 weeks ago when I saw this live. I agree with you. I hope that ROH signs Viva Van, because I think every time she's in the ring, she constantly pleasantly surprises me. And I still, and this is just a me personal thing, anytime we have somebody get signed to ROH or to AEW, I've noticed the trend where they're on a constant losing streak, but then they have that one baller match, and when it's revealed that then they're getting signed. Like, it's the same thing with the bounty hunter, Brian Keith. He kept losing and losing and losing, and then he had that baller match with Eddie Kingston, and then it was announced that he got signed. So I have kind of just purged it from my memory in a sense. I'm like, you know what? If that's what Tony wants to do, cool. I thought Viva looked great. Red was fantastic in this match. This was at the top of my list for this week's ROH episode, because Red Velvet, I feel like now has found the groove in terms of everything, because she was a little bit ring rusty coming back from injury a couple months ago, and now she's just locked in. And honestly, I'm kind of here for Red Velvet going after Billy and the ROH Women's TV title, if that means that Queen is going to go after Athena, because that match, I'm not ready for it. I kind of hope it's Queen versus Athena at Death Before Dishonor, because I'm here for it. That would be great.
Yes, that would be great. And Red Velvet versus Billy Starks at Death Before Dishonor. I'm here for it. But we go to our next match, which was the Fourpoint Survival Trios match, where we saw Lance Archer and the Righteous against Action Andretti and Top Flight, against the Dark Order, against the Infantry and Dalton Castle.
This was the most random pairing when it came to Dalton and the Infantry, but I was here for it. So this was interesting that this was placed in the show, because at the taping, this was our main event. This was the one that went on at the end. And then, of course, I just had a great time with this. Andrew's not here, but it seems that ROH is listening, because Andrew's biggest complaint has been he's titled these multi-person matches main eventing ROH. We did not get that this week. This was right in the middle, which Andrew had said this is where they should go. So I feel like ROH is listening to us in some capacity. There's not much to say about this. This was just chaotic but fun. This was it was so much fun to watch. Dalton Castle the whole entire time was hyping up the crowd. Honestly, I was kind of terrified. Lance Archer and the Righteous kind of look great as a team, as a trio in this match in particular. Dutch continues to make me blow my mind when it comes to just, even though he's a big guy, just the things he is able to do.
How and agile he is, yeah.
Him and Lance Archer just throwing bodies across the ring and onto the mat. I thought the Infantry died in front of my eyes at one point.
Yup.
But, I thought about this long and hard, because at first I didn't like the fact that Top Flight and Action won, because they continued to win. I was just like, you have ROH trios here that you can. But I did not mind it in this match. I would have preferred the Dark Order to win, but I really like this. And funny enough, this is the other thing. Dark Order continues to go back and forth between being heel in certain matches and then faces in others. I think being a tweener is fantastic for them, but honestly, the Dark Order was my highlight. Those combination moves that they did between Alex Reynolds and Mr. Johnny Hungy, John Silver.
Oh, they were so good.
Evil Uno coming in for the cleanup too. I was like, put those trios championships on them right now.
Yeah, and I love that spot where Evil Uno he'll catch the kick, give it to the ref, and then do a spin kick. It's fantastic. Yeah, I thought this match was a lot of fun as well. I actually, the one reason why I really liked it is that normally these 4-point trio matches, they devolve into just like this mosh of chaos that you can't really tell what's going on. But this one actually seemed dialed in, and you could see what was going on, and it was good. It wasn't the chaos. It was like a controlled chaos almost, which made it nice. And yep, Top Flight and Action Andretti pick up the 1, 2, 3, and then this brings us to our another trios match, a women's trios match, where we had Diamante, Marina Shafir, the newly rookie Alex Winter, versus Lady Frost, legit Leila Hirsch, and Abaddon.
So we brought this up a little bit off camera when we were talking about this. First and foremost, I am so happy that Alex Windsor is here. I love Alex so much. Anybody who follows UK wrestling, she is phenomenal. And
Windsor.
I'm just thinking of the drag queen too. It's like Ivy Winter. But Alex Windsor, I love her so much. She is a fantastic wrestler through and through. She's been a staple of the UK wrestling scene. I think she had a stint in Progress, if I'm remembering my UK federations, which would make a lot of sense because a lot of the UK wrestlers had spent some time in Progress, which is also where Will Ospreay spent a lot of time too. But I digress. So we talked about this a little bit before because I'm not tired of seeing Abaddon, Lady Frost, and Leila Hirsch because I want more screen time with them. I just want them outside of these being the faces of these multi-women like trios matches because they're always together, whether it's some sort of combination with it. Now, the one thing I really loved about the match, though, is that if ROH is smart, they will capitalize on a specific moment that occurred during this match because Leila Hirsch was looking for a fight against Marina Shafir. Let that be Marina's
let
first
that
feud.
happen.
Oh my gosh, Leila was pressed. She was more pressed than a beanie, and Marina got under her skin, and I was like, this is what I want to see.
Yes. Yeah, that was like the first good portion of the match was just Leila and Marina like just trading technical moves back and forth and locks and this, that, and the other. And I was like, yes, give that to me. Yeah, I am bummed that yet again Lady Frost, Leila Hirsch, and Abaddon have been brought together to lose. I really would like to see them together to win, especially because I feel that they work really well together. You have the speed and agility of Lady Frost, you have the cold cunning of Leila Hirsch, and then you just have the raw power and just je ne sais quoi, if you will, of Abaddon. I mean, I do know what it is. It's just that her just like, fear, that people see when they come out. But yeah, I really, really want to see them win because this is the second time that they've been together against a kind of sort of, at least Diamante was in the last match, and this is the second time that they lose, and it bums me out. Diamante, Marina Shafir, and Alex Winter, they worked really well. Windsor. They worked really well together as well. Continue to be impressed by Alex Windsor, because I did see the first match. I believe it was either ROH or Rampage where she wrestled, and she looked really, really good, had great ring sense, so she's very fun to watch.
It was a tag team match when she teamed up with Anna Jay.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes, yep. And yeah, Marina Shafir, I'm still a little, but I'll tell you what, that like we had said before, that whole back and forth with Leila Hirsch, give it to us, ROH, give it to us.
If they allow Marina Shafir to tap into the cockiness that comes with being an MMA fighter, because lest we forget, Marina Shafir is one of what we call the 4 horsewomen of MMA. That includes her, Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey. Like, that whole group was like the peak of that particular era of MMA women's fighters. So if you allow Marina to just be cocky, that'd be fantastic. And, I will say this because her promo skills, like what we've been talking about, aren't necessarily great, but I will
Not the
say they're
best.
leaps and boves beyond better, and I prefer hers over her husband's, Roddy.
Right, right.
But this was a fantastic match. You know, the heels got the win. Marina, Alex, and Diamante pick up the win. Again, ROH, if you are truly listening and watching us, please pull the trigger and have a feud develop with Leila and Marina,
Do it.
because
Do it.
Leila is being pretty much a lot of these women are being underutilized. Let's get more storylines going. I love the Queen and the Red Velvet, Athena, Billy Starks, like cinematic, like universe we got going on. But let's do something that doesn't require the title. I like this match. This was fun. No,
So
I never I never complain about women's matches, but we have to talk about this next one, and I don't fuck the participants in this one. I just have questions about other things.
Right. So this brings us to, and I'm actually excited to hear your thoughts about this, because I believe you and I have different views on this. So it was Harley Cameron, because remember, Harley Cameron actually does wrestle.
She's not just pulling out knives for no reason. She wrestles
or
too.
spoons and thinking that they're knives. Yeah. We have Harley Cameron versus Trish Adora. Mikey, I'm gonna let you go first, because you have thoughts, and I want to hear them.
I think this match suffered in the live taping too, because they put this in a really weird spot during the taping, so the crowd was kind of dead. And I believe this was the match. I believe this match occurred after Billy and Sandra Moon, but right before the four trios multi-chaotic match. So
Okay.
everybody was hyped for Billy. And then during this match, because here's the thing, as an actual wrestling match, I love the fact that they paired Harley with Trish. Trish has been doing this for like 7-8 years now. She is a consummate professional. She had a baller. She can wrestle with anyone because she's very adaptable when it comes to her style. If you don't believe me, Andrew can back me up on this, because Trish not too long ago had a match in one of the GCW shows, and it was fantastic. It was really good. And so I like that Trish is being paired with Harley. I do wish that Saraya accompanied Harley to the ring, because
Okay.
I feel like poor girl is always getting left behind. If it's not on AEW television, Zach and Saraya never come out with Harley. I was just like, this girl needs a friend. Not to say that she can't do it on her own, but this was just in a weird spot. And you know, I give this match a little bit of grace because it was mostly Trish leading Harley through a lot of this. Harley's got some great stuff. I like to see it. My
Yep.
biggest complaint, though, is that this just felt like a match to have a match in the grand scheme of things. Now,
Okay.
if this means that Harley's going to stick around ROH and we're going to build something with her, then I'm all here for it. But my biggest issue is that to me, this screams, hey, this is who we got tonight at the taping. Let's just have a match to have a match, and let's get Trish on TV and Harley on TV, which I'm never going to complain. More women's action I'm here for. It's just giving me the vibes. This is what we got, so let's just put on a match to have a match. And it kind of felt that way at certain parts. I'm not as mad as probably some of our other co-hosts would be that Harley won. It's just that there was no stakes, and it was just a match to have a match, which is fine in certain cases. But it would be a disservice to Trish and Harley if this was just a one and done, and Harley doesn't explore ROH a little bit more after that.
Yeah, so we definitely are on different ends of the spectrum here. I do agree with you. It was a solid match. I felt that Harley and Trish worked really well together. I thought it was a wrestling match, and it was a good wrestling match, and I'm okay with there being no stakes, because I feel that every once in a while, yeah, you just need to have a wrestling match to have a wrestling match. It was great to actually see Harley Cameron getting lumped up and having to wrestle out of the situation. I agree with you. I hope that this is a sign that we're going to be getting more Harley Cameron the wrestler than Harley Cameron the arm candy, because I feel it's a very great dichotomy, when she is playing the friend, when she's playing the outcast with Saraya, she's the blonde ditzy one, right? But in the ring, like she had very well thought, like good ring thinking, good, like I admit I was just kind of like, wow, Harley Cameron can actually wrestle. How about them apples? So I really hope that this is them, for lack of a better term, loosening up the leash and letting Harley wrestle more. Hopefully she wants to wrestle more, and we see it. But yeah, I thought this was a good wrestling match to be a good wrestling match. So there we go.
Like I said, I didn't necessarily hate this match. I thought it was a good wrestling match. I'm
Right.
just hoping that we can develop something more than this. And sometimes we just need a wrestling match to have a wrestling match. I agree with you. But my issue is that if this was just a wrestling match this week, cool. But I also have to consider everything we've gotten in the last couple of weeks for Ring of Honor 2, because it feels very directionless. And I think that's my biggest issue. There's some solid matches every single week, and I love the talent that's involved. But since coming off a Supercard of Honor, it feels that we've lost the direction we're heading with ROH.
I mean, that is fair. It seems like they're kind of just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall.
They're figuratively throwing darts on a board to see, hey, let's pair this person with that person and see how it works.
And not even necessarily seeing what sticks and what doesn't stick. It feels very much how AEW felt the back half of 2023. Where just like there was stuff going on. The wrestling was good, but there was no storylines. So yeah, I will agree with you with that. But this brings us to our final match, our main event for the TV taping. Apparently not the main event for the live.
This was the first match we got of the whole evening.
Wow, look at that.
So let me put it this way. We got this match. We had all of Collision, and then we had the rest of the ROH Palm Springs taping. So this match opened at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when the show started.
There we go.
Honestly, Adolfo, this was probably my favorite match of the whole entire night.
Yeah. Where we had the best part of the Undisputed Kingdom. We had Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, your ROH Tag Team Champions, versus Shea Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito.
Also,
Wowie Kazowie. Oh yes, and Daddy Magic was on the microphone. Blah 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 blah.
He was on the microphone. It was fun.
Wow,
this was awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Well, I love the fact too is because when I saw Jacob Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito, I was just like, hold up, let me Google this. What is their staple? It was I got a kick out of this because when I looked it up, I was like, okay, so we got the Undisputed Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett taking on the Wolf Zaddies with the Z. That is their official tag team name of Jacob Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito. Those boys are huge. They are monsters, big. And they proved it in this match.
They're big and they're brown, and I loved it. Yeah.
This is the best example of be like, what's a proving ground match? Just watch this match. Just watch it and we'll answer questions later because they got close to winning. And again, just like I said with Sandra Moon and Billy Starks' proving ground match that opened ROH, we closed in a proving ground match, but this one is my favorite of the whole night between the two and my favorite match of the whole episode because, again, you can never go wrong with the Kingdom. They are just that good of a tag team.
They are.
But what the Wolf Zaddies also did is they showed their power, but lest we forget, too, Bad Dude Tito got hops, too, man. Like, both of them were hopping all over the place. I'm like,
yes,
I need a triple threat with those two and Brian Cage. Like, let's do this.
Yes, I'm not upset that Bennett and Taven won, right?
Oh, me neither.
I am upset that Shea and Bad Dude Tito didn't make the 10 minutes to get the shot.
The shot, yep.
Because they worked so well with Bennett and Taven. Like both sides, I will give credit with Mike Bennett and Matt Taven because they will take a lumping. Shea Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito, they lumped Bennett and Taven.
You could say it, Adolfo. Those boys like Che and Tito, They manhandled the
They
kingdom.
manhandled
They
them.
manhandled them boys like they owed him lunch money.
Yeah, and to their credit, Taven and Bennett, there was they didn't do any like no selling or super selling of anything. They took that ass beating. Now, and they did end up winning, and I also, to give credit, it wasn't, at least in my opinion, it wasn't you had Shea Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito beating up on Mike Bennett, and then all of a sudden like Matt Taven like comes in and like surprise roll up the most electrifying move in sports entertainment, 1-2-3 pin. No, it was a hard fought victory for them, and the match was a good match to watch. I want to see more of Shea Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito. I'm just upset that they didn't get, because I really would. I'll say it. I want to see Taven and Bennett and Shea Cabrera and Bad Dude Tito part 2. That's what it is.
Oh, I would love if we ran this back at Forbidden Door or down the line, because again, the Wolf Zaddies are part of New Japan, and so we are slowly integrating New Japan more and more into AEW and ROH. So I would love if we ran this back at some capacity, because I love the Kingdom. I thought this was my favorite match of the whole evening, but I still stand on the stance that I've had the last couple of weeks. Let's build out this tag team division, because we got something going. The Infantry and the Undisputed Kingdom leading into Supercard of Honor was great. I love the match at Supercard of Honor they had until the Vanilla Gorilla inserted himself for the match. But love Wardlow, because we got to meet him at the convention, so I can't say bad things about Wardlow. Plus, he'll steal my lunch money. But
we could be upset at how underused he is.
Oh, for sure. But this was my favorite match of the whole entire night. The Undisputed Kingdom and the Wolves Zaddies brought it, and this was such a fantastic main event. I loved it.
Yeah, going back through, I'll be honest, I think Red Velvet and Viva Van
was also in my top 2, and I went back and forth. But you know me, I love watching people go flying.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like, I'll get manhandled. What?
All right, Mikey, it is that time. The empanada scale. So
this is easy for me. I don't care what nobody says, and I don't even care what my other co-hosts are going to give this to me. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 for me this week's ROH, because this was mostly because rewatching all of these matches, except for Nick Comarado and Jacobe and Shane Taylor Promotion, says that was not on the actual thing that got taped, which means we're probably going to get the thing that actually got taped with them next week, but that's okay. I was reliving how much fun I had while I was there live, so I give this an 8 out of 10. I actually liked all the matches we got. Some of my minor nitpicks is more so on the bookie side of things and how we're grouping people together, and constantly always seeing these people be grouped together outside of these like multi-person things. But I thought the opening match was great with Billy and Sandra Moon. The Proving Ground match to close it was great. And the Fatal 4-Way, which I found out that no other company can use that, because, the big corporate machine. Yeah, it's trademark, which I did not know that until earlier last week. I was like, go figure. But this is an 8 out of 10 out of me. This was a fantastic episode. Now, if we can get this same energy leading into Death Before Dishonor, then I will take back my statement that I said last week, where I feel that we're in danger of not having a fun show for Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah, I hope that ROH takes the energy from this show and brings it forward, keeps it going, and capitalizes on that. For me, yeah, I'm with you, Mikey. This is going to be an 8 out of 10 as a wrestling fan. It was great to watch. There was not a lot of, other stuff. The only spot that we really had was the Johnny Taya spot. Everything else was just like the pre-recorded, things for Forbidden Door and this, that, and the other. And they went by fast and got back to what was important, and that was the wrestling, which I was very happy with. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great wrestling. 8 out of 10 for me.
It was super fantastic. Well, El Puntador, we have come to the end of this week's ROH. Once again, thank you so much for tagging in for me, because I can do it by myself, but it's not as much fun.
Right?
It's always fantastic. And don't touch that channel, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folks, because Buntador is going to be coming out in the next video. But now I am going to take him to the compound that is TNA. Yes. And that's a sneak peek of what we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about how that is the greatest thing that has happened in professional wrestling forever.
Spearing skeletons. I loved it.
But if you want to see what we're going to talk about, go tune into the TNA review. But we got to get up on out of here because we got to talk about that next. But from myself, El Buntador, the other bro hosts, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod boys, and now including Mama Laguillo as an honorary member, so that's fantastic. Remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Biconic. More importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you next week for another ROH review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and take care. Billy Stark's outro.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.